Hello, good people, and welcome to Clarky's Closet. This is Mark Clark here, bringing you today a slightly different show and a slightly longer one too. The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, put to my music. No, I'm not claiming the Rime of the Ancient Mariner. It was written by the genius of Samuel Taylor Coleridge in 1798. It was published when, just by the way, the average life expectancy was about 33. Of course, you've got to take into account all those people who died in childbirth and all those children who died in childbirth, but just the same, quite a bit difference. I think it's about, what is it now, 79 for men and 83 for women or something? Anyway, that's beside the point. It's nice to be with you again, and I hope you are well, as I always hope you are. Well, all of you, well, most of you. If you're not a very nice person, I don't particularly wish you well, but I don't particularly wish you ill. I just don't know you. I don't know any of you. In fact, what am I talking about? Let's get on with the show. Okay, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. I have always wanted to put it to music, and I did in the very early 2000s. And because it was on the school Year 12 syllabus, I actually, for 2 years, went into schools and did probably, 20 or 30 shows at different schools around Sydney, where I sang this to them. So I put the entire poem, which is 144 stanzas, all in 4, 5 and 6 lines. And it's quite obvious when you look at it, it works perfectly for 4/4 music because it's just so rhythmic all the way through and so constant. Anyway, I put it to music. About 19 different sections of music, some of them repeat. I was going to play you just a few of them, as I have been doing with all of my other shows. But I thought, well, it hardly made any sense. So I thought I might play you the entire thing. But I haven't put up the lyrics to this one. But you can find them very easily. Just put in The Rime of the Ancient Mariner and there'll be lots of places where you can have a look at the words, if you so desire. Hopefully you'll understand all of the words from the show today. The intro is spoken, but everything else has music, and I've put the words to melody. So why don't we get going? And if you don't know the story, I'll just briefly explain things as we go through. I won't say too much because it's really redundant. The story is told in the poem. But just in case you aren't familiar with the story, and it is written in language from 200 years ago. The English language has changed a lot in 200 years. If you go back 200 years before this, you've got Shakespeare. So that shows you how much English changes. So we're going to get going. And just to thank Jessica Zamprogno, who sang on all of my stage plays, also sang this for me. So I want to thank her very much. She's a very, very good singer, and you'll enjoy her performance very much. So our story begins. An wizened old man with a sparkling eye, like you can imagine somebody like not a gypsy so much, but a soothsayer of type, old wrinkled old man, comes up to a young man who's about to go to a wedding. And the guy says to him, listen, I'm going to a wedding. He says, please don't disturb me. And this old man starts to tell him the following story. He is transfixed by this old man and he can't get away. But this is the beginning of the story.
It is an ancient mariner, and he stoppeth one of 3.
By thy long grey beard and glittering eye, now wherefore stoppest thou me? The bridegroom's doors are opened wide, and I am next of kin. The guests are met, the feast is set, mayst hear the merry din.
He holds him with his skinny hand.
There was a ship,
quoth he,
Hold off, unhand me, grey-beard loon.
Eftsoons his hand dropped he. He holds him with his glittering eye. The wedding guest stood still, and listens like a 3 years' child. The mariner hath his will. The wedding guest sat on a stone, he cannot choose but hear. And thus spake on that ancient man, the bright-eyed mariner.
And so the old mariner tells the young man this story about a journey he undertook and embarked upon many years before.
The ship was cheered, the harbour cleared, mariner did withdraw. Below the kirk, below the hill, below the lighthouse top, the sun came up upon the left, out of the sea came he, and he shone bright, and on the right went down into the sea.
Red as a rose is she, nodding their heads before her goes the merry minstrelsy. Yet he cannot choose but hear, and thus spake on that ancient man, the bright-eyed mariner.
And so they're off, and the wind is blowing fiercely. A storm blast comes, and they're whipping southward. And then they come to mist and snow, and a beautiful bird, a gorgeous albatross, starts coming to the ship each day, flies around the ship as they go through the ice and the snow, and it lands. And at the end of this section, well, you'll be able to work out what happened by just listening to it. But this is where the story really begins. And he brings a great curse upon everybody on that ship, and especially upon himself.
The storm blast came, and he was tyrannous and strong. He struck with his overtaking wings, and chased us south along, with sloping masts and tipping prow, as who pursued with yell and blow, still treads the shadow of his foe, and forward bends his head. The ship drove fast, loud roared the blast, and southward aye we fled. And now there came both mist and snow, and it grew wondrous cold, and ice mast high came floating by, as green as emerald. And through the drifts, the snowy cliffs did send a dismal sheen, nor shapes of men nor beasts we ken, the ice was all between. Here, the ice was there, the ice was all around. It cracked and growled and roared and howled like noises in a swound. At length did cross an albatross, thorough the fog it came, as if it had been a Christian soul. We hailed it in God's name. It ate the food it near had eat, and round it flew. The ice did split with a thunder fit, the helmsman steered us through. South wind sprung up behind, the albatross did follow, and every day for food or play came to the mariner's hollow. In mist or cloud or mast or shroud, it perched at the vesper's nine, whilst all the night through fog smoke white glimmered the white moonshine. From the fiends that plague thee thus, why lookest thou so? With my crossbow I shot the albatross.
So that's the end of part 1 of 7 in this magnificent poem. And if some of the sections of music seem a little protracted, it's because I envisaged it as a stage play, and in fact wrote a stage play around the music that I've written here. Anyway, that's another point I might mention to you later on. At the moment, he's killed the albatross for no good reason. He just kills it. And by the way, I love thorough the fog it came. Through the fog, we would say now, because I often wondered why we use the term thoroughfare. Well, it used to be thorough and it's changed to through. Such as that sort of thing happens with the English language, and with all languages, of course, as we use it. Okay, so he's committed a great sin. Even though things seem to be going well, this is what happens.
Still hidden mist, and on the left went down into the sea. And the good south wind hellish thing, and it would work 'em woe. For all a bird I had killed, the bird that made the breeze to blow. A wretch, said they, the bird to slay that made the breeze to blow. Nor dim, nor red, like God's own head, the glorious sun of rest. Then all a bird I had killed, the bird that brought the fog and mist. Was right, said they, such birds to slay, that bring the fog and mist. The fair breeze blew, the white foam flew, the furrow followed free. We were the first that ever burst into that silent sea. Down dropped the breeze, the sails dropped down, 'twas sad as sad could be, and we did speak only to break the silence of the sea.
And so, although in the second part of the story things seem to be going well initially with the fair breeze blowing, this next section is, I think, one of the most beautiful sections in the poem, when they become becalmed. You see, what's happened is that because sailors were naturally superstitious, especially at a time when you actually had to sail around the world and you required wind to move, there was no other way of getting around on the wide ocean, they hit the doldrums. And of course, the men who at first said, you've done the wrong thing by killing that bird did nothing wrong to you, and it was a beautiful bird. Now that the sun comes out, their initial thought is, oh no, you've done the right thing, and they seal their own fate with that belief. And this is the next section where they are becalmed.
all in a hot and copper sky. The bloody sun at noon, right up above the mast did stand, no bigger than the moon. Day after day, day after day, we stuck, no breath, no motion, as idle as a painted ship upon a painted ocean. Water, water everywhere, and all the boards did shrink. Water, water everywhere, nor any drop to drink. The very deep did rot, O Christ, that ever this should be. Yea, slimy things did crawl with legs upon the slimy sea. About, in reel and rout, the death fires danced at night. The water, like a witch's oils, burnt green and blue and white. And some in dreams assured were of the spirit that plagued us so. 9 fathom deep he had followed us from the land of mist and snow. And every tongue through utter drought was withered at the root. We could not speak no more than if we had been choked with soot. Well a day, what evil looks had I from old and young. Instead of the cross, the albatross about my neck was hung.
There passed a weary time. Each throat was parched and glazed each eye. A weary time, a weary time, how glazed each weary eye.
When looking westward, I beheld a something in the sky.
And that something in the sky turns out to be a ghost ship. And on board are 2 people, or souls, or spirits, or whatever they are, ghosts. And they're playing dice for the lives of the men on board. The woman is life in death, and she wins the game and whistles 3 times because she now has the soul of the mariner. And as to what happens to the rest of the crew, well, you're about to find out. We are now into part 3 of the Rime of the Ancient Mariner.
First it seemed a little speck, and then it seemed a mist. It moved and took at last a certain shape I wist. A speck of mist, a shape I wist, and still it neared and neared. As if it dodged a water sprite, it plunged and tacked and veered. With throats unslaked, with black lips baked, we could not laugh nor wail. Through utter drought, all dumb we stood. I bit my arm, I sucked the blood and cried, "A sail, a sail!" With throats unslaked, with black lips baked, agape they heard me call. Good mercy, they for joy did grin, and all at once their breath drew in, as they were thinking, oh. Without a breeze, without a tide, she steadies with upright keel. The western wave was all aflame, the day was well outdone. Almost upon the western wave rested the broad bright sun, when that strange shape drove suddenly betwixt us and the sun. And straight the sun was flecked with bars, heaven's mother sent us grace. As if through a dungeon grate he appeared, with broad and burning face. Alas, thought I, my heart beat loud, how fast she nears and nears. Are those her sails that glance in the sun, like restless gossameres? Oh, those her ribs through which the sun did peer, through a grate. And is that woman all her crew? Is that a death, and are there two? Is death that woman's mate? The nightmare life in death was she, who thick smells blood with cold. The naked Hulk alongside came, and the twain were casting dice.
The game is done, I've won,
quoth she, and whistles thrice. sun's rim dips, the stars rush out, at one stride comes the dark. With far-heard whisper o'er the sea, off shot the spectre bark. We listened and looked sideways up. Fear at my heart as at a cup, my lifeblood seemed sick. The stars were dim and thick the night, the steersman's face by his lamp gleamed white. From the sails the dew did drip, till clomb above the eastern bar the horned moon with one bright star. Within the nether tip, one after one, by the star-dogged moon, too quick for groan or sigh, each turned his face with ghastly pang, and cursed me with his eye. 4 times 50 living men. And I heard nor sigh nor groan, with heavy thump, a lifeless lump, they dropped down one by one. The souls did from their bodies fly. They fled to bliss. Oh, and every soul it passed me by, like the whiz of my crossbow.
There are so many beautiful moods created in this poem, and it's so cleverly written because we start off the next section, and this is section 4, and we're reminded because the person who's being told this story suddenly interjects and says, "I fear thee, ancient mariner," and suddenly we're brought back and we think, "Oh, that's right. We're being told a story here. He's telling a story to this young man who is going to the wedding feast," and it takes you back to that just to remind you that that is the case. And then this next beautiful but ghastly section describes how the men, 200 of them, drop down one by one. They die, and he is left alive. He can't die. And they're all lying on the deck, staring up with him with a stony glaze. They're dead, and they're just staring at him as if they weren't. And he can't die. And as he's sitting there, and it's some time, some days and days, and he can't die, they're lying on the deck, and it's not raining, so he is dying of thirst, but he can't die. An absolutely awful situation. But towards the end of this section, it resolves itself a little bit because he is looking down in the water, and suddenly a gush of love comes to him as he looks at the living things. "Oh, happy living things, no tongue thy beauty might declare." And suddenly the spell is broken, and he can pray, and the albatross falls from his neck.
I fear thee, ancient mariner, I fear thy skinny head, and thou art long and lank and brown, as is the ribbed sea sand. I fear thee, and thy glittering eye, and thy skinny hand so brown. Fear not, thou wedding guest, this body dropped not down. Alone, alone, all alone, alone on a wide, wide sea, and never a saint took pity on my soul in agony. The many men so beautiful, and they all dead did lie, and a thousand slimy things lived on, and so did I. I looked upon the rotting sea and drew my eyes away. I looked upon the rotting deck, and there the dead men lay. I looked to heaven and tried to pray, but or ever a prayer had gushed, a wicked whisper came and made my heart as dry as dust. I closed my lids and kept them close, and the bars like posts beat. For the sky and the sea and the sea and the sky lay like a load on my weary eye, and the dead were at my feet. The cold sweat melted from their limbs, nor rot nor reek did they. The look with which they looked on me had never passed away. An orphan's curse would drag to hell a spirit from on high. But oh, more horrible than that is the curse in a dead man's eye. 7 days, 7 nights I saw that curse, and yet I could not die. Sky and nowhere did abide. Softly she was going up, and a star or two beside. Her beams bemocked the sultry main, like April hoarfrost spread. But where the ship's huge shadow lay, the charmed water burnt our way. A still and awful rain. Beyond the shadow of the ship I watched the water snakes. They moved in tracks of shining white, and when they reared, the elfish light fell off in hoary flakes. Within the shadow of the ship I watched their rich attire. Blue, glossy green, and velvet black, they coiled and swam, and every track was a flash of golden fire. Things no tongue their beauty might declare. A spring of love gushed from my heart, and I blessed them unaware. Sure, my kind saint took pity on me, and I blessed them unaware. The self-same moment I could pray, and from my neck so free, the albatross fell off and sank like lead into the sea.
And so the spell is broken, and he can not only drink water, but also he can sleep again. I didn't mention that before, but he can't sleep for days and days and days. He can't sleep, he can't drink, and dead men are cursing him with their eyes. But because he felt love in his heart for a living thing, all of a sudden the spell is relinquished. And something really eerie happens. This really is a supernatural tale. All of the men who are dead start plying the ropes because a wind has sprung up. And to add salt into the wound, the body of his brother's son is helping him ply one of the ropes in this ferocious wind. It's a ghastly tale. And Then he tells us that all of the men who were inhabited momentarily or for a short while by a spirit then just dropped dead. They just dropped down dead. They weren't really alive. They were just animated corpses. And as they dropped down, sweet sounds issued from their bodies.
Sleep, it is a gentle thing, beloved from pole to pole. To Mary Queen, the praise be given, she sent the gentle sleep from heaven that slid into my soul. The silly buckets on the deck that had so long remained, I dreamt that they were filled with dew, and when I awoke, it rained. My lips were wet, my throat was cold, my garments all were dank. Sure I had drunken in my dreams, and still my body drank. I moved, and could not feel my limbs, I was so light. Almost I thought that I had died in sleep, and was a blessed ghost. And soon I heard a roaring wind, it did not come anear, but with its sound it shook the sails that were so thin and sere. The upper air burst into life, and 100 fire flags sheen. To and fro they were hurried about, to and fro, in and out. The one stars danced between, and the coming wind did roar more loud, and the sails did sigh like sedge, and the rain poured down from one black cloud. The moon was at its edge. The thick black cloud was cleft, and still the moon was at its side. Like waters shot from some high crag, the lightning fell with never a jag, a river steep and wide. The loud wind never reached the ship, yet now the ship moved on beneath the lightning and the moon. The dead men gave a groan. Stirred, they all uprose, nor spake nor moved their eyes. It had been strange, even in a dream, to have seen those dead men rise. The helmsman steered, the ship moved on, yet never a breeze of blew. The mariners all gan work the ropes where they were wont to do. They raised their limbs like lifeless tools. We were a ghastly crew. The body of my brother's son stood by me knee to knee. the body and I pulled at one rope, but he said not to me. I fear the ancient mariner become the wedding guest. 'Twas not those souls that fled in pain which to their courses came again, but a troop of spirits blessed. For when it dawned they dropped their arms and clustered round the mast. Sweet sounds rose slowly through their mouths, and from their bodies passed. Around flew each sweet sound, then darted to the sun. Slowly the sounds came back again, now mixed, now one by one. Sometimes a dropping from the sky, I heard the skylark sing. Sometimes all little birds that are, how they seem to fill the sea and air with their sweet jargoning. And now 'twas like all instruments, now like a lonely flute, and now it is an angel's song that makes the heavens be mute. It ceased, yet still the sails made on a pleasant noise till noon, a noise like of a hidden brook in the leafy month of June, that to the sleeping woods all night singeth a quiet tune. Till noon we quietly sailed on, yet never a breeze did breathe. Slowly and smoothly went the ship, moved onwards from beneath. Under the keel 9 fathom deep, from the land of mist and snow, the spirit slid, and it was he that made the ship to go. The sails at noon left off their tune, and the ship stood still, oh so.
So it seems that there's a spirit from the land of mist and snow from down south has been tracking them 9 fathom. Well, fathom was 6 feet, so 6 9s are 54. I learned that at school. 54 feet below him is a spirit that is making the ship to go. But now the scene changes again, and the ship suddenly jolts backwards and forwards and jumps forward like a horse and knocks him down onto the deck, and the ship is flying along, but he is in a sort of he calls it a swound. He's like he's in a dazed state and he doesn't know what's going on. But in that state he hears 2 voices, well, the voices of 2 spirits who are probably not supposed to be heard. It's one of those sort of moments where maybe he's just out of it enough and just conscious enough to actually hear these 2 spirits having a chat. Maybe he wasn't even supposed to hear it, but he does. That's my interpretation. Could be completely wrong, but there's no doubt that it's a good way for Coleridge to give us a bit of information that we wouldn't otherwise know as these 2 spirits discuss what's happening. And all of this takes us from part 5 and into part 6 of the Rime.
The sun right up above the mast had fixed her to the ocean, but in a minute she 'gan stir with a short ocean, backwards and forwards half her length, with a short, uneasy motion. Then like a pouring horse let go, she made a sudden bound. It flung the blood into my head, and I fell down in a swound. How long in that same fit I lay, I have not to declare. But ere my living life returned, I heard, and in my soul discerned, two voices in the air. Is it he?
Quote one.
Is this the man, by him who died on cross? With his cruel bow he laid full low the harmless albatross. The spirit who bideth by himself in the land of mist and snow. He loved the bird that loved the man who shot him with his bow.
The other was a softer voice, as soft as honeydew. Quoth he, the man had penance done, and penance more will do.
But tell me, speak again, thy soft response renewing. What makes that ship drive on so fast? What is the ocean doing?
Still as a slave before his lord, the ocean hath no blast. His great bright eye most silently up to the moon is cast. If he may know which way to go, for she guides him smooth or grim. See, brother, see how graciously she looketh down on him.
But why drives on that ship so fast, without or wave or wind?
The air is cut away before and closes from behind. Fly, brother, fly more high, or we shall be belated. For slow and slow that ship will go, where the mariner's trance is abated.
And now the mood changes yet again. He wakes up and he's sailing as in a gentle weather, and he's calmly moving. And then all of a sudden he sees, it can't be, but he actually sees on the horizon his homeland. He's actually made it home. So this next section flows into the end of the story, which is, of course, part 7. So here we are, as the mariner makes it home.
I woke and we were sailing on, as in a gentle weather. It was night, calm night, the moon was high. The dead men stood together. All stood together on the deck, or a charnel dungeon fitter. All fixed on me their stony eyes, that in the moon did glitter. The pang, the curse with which they died, had never passed away. I could not draw my eyes from theirs, nor turn them up to pray. And now the spell was snapped once more. I viewed the ocean green and looked far forth, yet little saw of what had else been seen. Like one that on a lonesome road doth walk in fear and dread, and having once turned round walks on, and turns no more his head, because he knows a frightful fiend doth close behind him tread. There breathed a wind on me, nor sound nor motion made. Its path was not upon the sea, in ripple or in shade. It raised my hair, it fanned my cheek, like a meadow gale of spring. It mingled strangely with my fears, yet it felt like a welcoming. Swiftly, swiftly flew the ship, yet she sailed softly too. Sweetly, sweetly blew the breeze, on me alone it blew. Dream of joy, is this indeed the lighthouse top I see? Is this the hill? Is this the kirk? Is this mine own country? We drifted o'er the harbour bar, and I with sobs did pray. Oh, let me be awake, my God, oh, let me sleep alway. The harbour bay was clear as glass, so smoothly it was strewn, and on the bay the moonlight lay, and the shadow of the moon. The rock shone bright, the kirk no less, that stands above the rock. The moonlight steeped in silentness the steady weather cock, and the bay was white with silent light till rising from the same. Full many shapes that shadows were, in crimson colours came. A little distance from the prow those crimson shadows were. I turned my eyes upon the deck, oh Christ, what saw I there? Each course lay flat, lifeless and flat, and by the holy rood, a man all light, a seraph man, on every course there stood. This seraph band each waved his hand, it was a heavenly sight. They stood as signals to the land, each one a lovely light. This seraph band each waved his hand, no voice did they impart, no voice, but oh, the silence sang like music on my heart. But soon I heard the dash of oars, I heard the pilot's cheer. My head was turned perforce away, and I saw a boat appear. The pilots and the pilot pilot's boy, I heard them coming fast. Dear Lord in heaven, it was a joy the dead men could not blast. I saw a third, I heard his voice, it is the hermit good. He singeth loud his godly hymns that he makes in the wood. He'll shrieve my soul, he'll wash away the albatross's blood.
And now we do get to the last part of the Rime of the Ancient Mariner, and in a way it's almost humorous. First of all, he paints a picture of the hermit and describes his lifestyle. He lives alone and in the woods. But now, of course, because the boat has come into the harbour, he's got a boat with a pilot on it, and he comes out with the pilot towards the ship. And the pilot's worried because he says, it's got a strange, fiendish look to it. Look at how thin the sails are. What's this about? And the hermit says, no, it's fine. And so they head out there. But as they get there, all of a sudden, there's a huge sound under the ship, and it just, down she goes. Takes all of the corpses with it and leaves him on the surface. They pull him in, and they can't believe he's alive. The pilot's boy shrieks, and the hermit says, what sort of man art thou? What sort of a man are you? How can you look like you've been drowned for 7 days? And here you are. And he just takes the oars and he rows the boat in, and the pilot's boy is just beside himself. And that's why it's kind of funny in a way. And he's saying, the devil knows how to row. They think he's something from another world, but of course he isn't. But he is home.
This hermit good lives in that wood which slopes down to the sea. How loudly his sweet voice he rears. He loves to talk with mariners that come from a far country. He kneels at morn and noon and eve. He hath a cushion plump. It is the moss that wholly hides the rotted old oak stump. The skiff boat neared, I heard them talk. Why, this is strange, I trow. Where are those lights, so many and fair, that signal made but now? Strange by my faith,
the hermit said,
and the answer's not our cheer. The planks look warped, and see those sails, how thin they are and sere. I never saw aught like to them, unless perchance it were brown skeletons of leaves that lag my forest brook along. When the ivy tod is heavy with snow, and the owlet whoops to the wolf below that eats the she-wolf's young. Dear Lord, it hath a fiendish look.
the pilot made reply,
I am afeard. Push on,
said the hermit cheerily.
The boat came closer to the ship, but I nor spake nor stirred. The boat came close beneath the ship, and straight a sound was heard. Under the water it rumbled on, Still louder and more dread, it reached the ship, it split the bay. The ship went down like lead. Stunned by that loud and dreadful sound, which sky and ocean smote, like one that hath been 7 days drowned. My body lay afloat, but swift as dreams myself I found within the pilot's boat.
And so the hermit asks him, what is the story? And he's actually freaking out a bit. He's sort of saying, shrieve me, holy man. You know, tell me, what sort of a man are you? And at that point, the mariner, for the first time, tells his ghastly tale. And the moral of the story that he imparts to the hermit is that you'll live well if you love well, and if you treasure all creatures, great and small, you'll have a wonderful life and not be such an arrogant young prat as I was. The hermit, of course, would already know this, but he has to impart this tale, and he says, now we go back to the wedding guest, and he says to him, now I have to wander the lands, and when I see a man that I think needs to hear this story, I must tell it to him. And of course, this is a curse upon him, because he's got to continually, over the years, tell this tale and relive this awful story. And as for the wedding guest, he's missed the wedding. But as Coleridge finishes off, he says, a sadder but a wiser man, he rose the morrow morn.
Sank the ship, the boat spun round and round, and all was still, save that the hill was telling of the sound. I moved my lips, the pilot shrieked, and fell down in a fit. The holy hermit raised his eyes, and prayed where he did sit. I took the oars, the pilot's boy, who now doth crazy go, laughed loud and long, and all the while his eyes went to and fro. Ha ha, quoth he, full plain I see, the devil knows how Now all in mine own country, I stood on the firm land. The hermit stepped forth from the boat, and scarcely he could stand.
Oh, shrieve me, holy man.
The hermit crossed his brow.
Say quick,
Quoth he,
I bid thee say, what manner of man art thou?
Forthwith this frame of mine was wrenched with a woeful agony, which forced me to begin my tale, and then left me free. Since then, at an uncertain hour, that agony returns, and till my ghastly tale is told, this heart within me burns. I pass like night from land to land, I have strange power of speech. That moment that his face I see, I know the man that must hear me. To him my tale I teach.
what loud uproar bursts from that door? The wedding guests are there, but in the garden bower the bride and bridemaids singing are, and hark the little vesper bell, which biddeth me to prayer.
This soul hath been alone on a wide, wide sea. So lonely 'twas that God himself scarce seemed there to be. Oh, sweeter than the marriage feast, 'tis sweeter far to me to walk together to the kirk with a goodly company. To walk together to the kirk and all together pray, while each to his great Father bends, old men and babes and loving friends, and youth and maidens gay. Farewell, farewell, but this I tell to thee, thou wedding guest. He prayeth well, who loveth well both man and bird and beast. He prayeth best, who loveth best all things both great and small. For the dear God who loveth us, he made and loveth all. Da-da-da-da.
Whose beard with age is hoar is gone, and now the wedding guest turned from the bridegroom's door. He went like one that hath been stunned and is of sense forlorn. A sadder and a wiser man, he rose the morrow morn. Da-da-da-da.
I was rather proud of myself, and I must boast. I learned all of that because I had to when I went to the schools. I would stand next to an overhead projection. I did a sort of a PowerPoint thing with the words up and some, pictures to go along with it. But I had a microphone, but I couldn't really turn and look at the words, so I had to learn it. It is a lot easier, actually, though, because, as you know, people remember the words to hundreds of songs, so it's not such a great feat. But even so, I am rather pleased with myself. I was 40-odd at the time, and I'm 64 now, and I don't know if I could actually remember all of that, mainly because the miasma that has brought about by too much alcohol and whatever. Well, possibly Coleridge had the advantage of the occasional puff of opium or whatever. But even so, what a brilliant, brilliant piece of work that is. And I was very happy to bring it to you. As I did mention earlier on, I actually penned a play around it that involved the audience looking down upon the prow of the ship and the sea creatures swimming around the outside in between the ship and the audience, and the old mariner talking to the wedding guest up the top, and the young mariner singing some sections down below. It's never actually played, but I'd love to see it if it ever does, whether it's an amateur society or, even better, a huge production with lots of lighting and great sets. But we live in hope. Anyway, folks, I really hope you've enjoyed today's show. And so next week, as we near the end of my series of podcasts, a mixture of songs in a couple of episodes and a concluding vocal-only show of a different nature. It's all a big surprise. See you.